Hello, all. Welcome to our podcast, What Worked. Today, we have a very interesting and amazing guest, Scott. Hello, Scott. Welcome
Hi.
to this podcast.
Yeah, hi.
Yeah,
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
absolutely. So, Scott is the managing partner and founder of Influencer Capital, and I think we have been talking about a lot of things in the influencer marketing and the creator economy and the entrepreneurial space. What has gone behind starting up amazing companies? What kind of struggles and what is the real background behind an entrepreneur success story? Right, so a lot of different failures, different learnings are always involved. And Scott here has had an amazing journey, and it's my utmost pleasure to welcome him to the podcast and live with us. Scott, thank you so much for agreeing to come as a guest to this, and really please go ahead and do a quick intro to the audience, and let's get going.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm Scott. I'm Dutch, currently based also in Amsterdam, and I'm the founder of Influence Capital.
Amazing, amazing. So Scott, just wanted to touch upon this bit that I've been to Amsterdam earlier, and for a business trip, I've been in Germany and Amsterdam. I love to say it's an amazing, beautiful place to live in. It's like, I mean, the culture, the places we visited, the aura, the vibe in the city is amazing. So really, jealous of you guys who get to live there every day and feel that beauty.
Yeah, I'm very proud to call it my home. Like Amsterdam literally has everything. So you have like a social life, you have like a very good work life as well. Like, I'm very proud to call it my home.
Amazing. So, want to start from there only. How is the startup and entrepreneurship culture there, and also how it is especially related to the creator economy and the influencer space. How it's booming. Can you tell us more
Yeah,
about it?
no, it's very funny. The Netherlands is actually it has a great startup ecosystem. So a lot of good companies are able to be built here, etc. The funny thing is that we are a small country. Like we are only 17 million people. So I used to also live in San Francisco, and like the US is all about thinking big and taking risks. And every time I was telling people that I was living in the Netherlands, everyone would say like, why would you live in a country where you can only like be an entrepreneur for 17 million people? Like, how can you build like $1 billion company? That's why I've always have like this global perspective, and that I don't
Um,
want to limit myself only to the Netherlands, and especially also looking from a creator perspective. Like Dutch is only spoken in like the Netherlands and maybe like a little bit in Belgium. But if you're a creator, like your reach is only like people that are able to speak Dutch. So you're not able to like be able to reach like millions of people if you create content in Dutch. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I'm pretty sure because a lot of these companies, every company has become global, right? So we sitting here in India and building for the global. That's what we have also been talking about in India, especially the SaaS ecosystem. If you see, we have a very good tech, backbone here, and a lot of amazing engineers keep building for lots of global audience. And I don't believe location is a boundary here. Having said that, I think in Netherlands, Amsterdam is it like that most of creators are also making content primarily in English or another language, just so that the reach will be more higher? Is it true?
No, the main reason is that they are creating it in Dutch. Yeah.
Understood. Understood. Amazing. Scott, so the idea is I'm pretty sure you have had quite a few startups which you have tried to answer, and there are a lot of things which would have gone behind this, whole journey, right? I'm pretty sure I'm aware of a couple of them already. So, can you tell me the perspective behind the starting up? Did you start up right out of your graduation or so, or did you have an experience before starting up, and what was the initial experience like?
Yeah. So like it's very funny. I always go back to when did I want to become an entrepreneur? And it was already pretty quickly. You know, when your parents always tell you something when you're very young and that you start to believe it. So if your parents tell you at 6 years old that dogs are scary, then for the rest of your life you think that dogs are scary. And for me, like my parents, they would always come home and they would say, Scott, really start your own company. So whenever I was like 10 and I was like at a birthday party and people would ask me like, hey Scott, what would you like to become later when you're old and when you're grown up? I would say I would like to start my own company. because that's what I've been told all my life. And then people would ask me, but in what? And I was like, I have no idea, you know. And already from like a very young age, I was very entrepreneurial. So like at age 14, I started to trade in like Pokemon cards. I started to buy things in bulk and sell it further, you know. So I did a lot of things already at a very young age. And then like I started my real company when I was like I think 17,
Okay.
selling like phone cases on like an e-commerce website, you know.
Okay.
So I did many different things before I eventually started Influence Capital.
Oh, this is amazing. Oh, it's crazy. So, actually, Scott, I mean, I can relate to it because obviously, in my parents didn't tell me to go and start up, but I always had this ambition of becoming an entrepreneur. And even when I was young, I used to tell like, I mean, what do you want to become? I want to be an entrepreneur or industrialist. So I learned this term called industrialist that time, and then I was seeing a lot of people that I want to be an industrialist. So I think it's the belief. I think it's the belief from inside on the desire to create something and build on your own, right? I think that's the major motivation behind
Yeah,
that.
100%. Like Mark Cuban also has like this famous quote that says like, "I'd rather earn like 60K a year working for myself than earning like 400K working for someone else." And I also have that. You know, I like to create things. I like to be in charge. I like to
Absolutely,
decide my own hours, etc. So yeah, it's just the burning desire to create.
absolutely, super amazing. So Scott, like, in your experience of entrepreneurship, like what, let's say, there are a lot of things about when you start up for the first time. There are a lot of people have this question. How do we, ensure that we are doing the right thing, or let's say, how do you validate our idea? Is it even something that we should go ahead and pursue, or should we, or do we have the right to win in this market? How? What are those things? What are those pointers or advice you'll give to folks who are looking to start up for the first time?
Yeah, so I think there's a lot of advice that I can give, and that can be a podcast itself, you know. But yeah, if I have to give a short advice, is just try and fail, you know. Like I started about 20 different projects. That like I don't want to call them everyone a startup, but um, because I failed the first one, I could take that learnings and I could start the second one. Because I failed the second one, I could start the third one. You know, I was never able to start Influencer Capital if I didn't have the entrepreneurial experience that I had before. So many people they're waiting until they find the perfect like problem or perfect idea. You know, what I think is just go and learn. Like my first company was selling iPhone cases with football players on the back. You
Understood.
know, it wasn't like a very innovative company, but it definitely helped me to get where I am today.
Absolutely. Uh, I mean, how did it go? The first one, selling iPhone cases.
Oh, it was so funny, you know, because I have no experience in marketing, I have no experience in inventory, I have no experience in website building, etc. So I basically had to learn everything myself. And these days, you can just go on YouTube and find how to build a website, and you get like a 1 hour tutorial. But that was not the case back then, you know. So I had to learn a lot, and I had to create my own marketing material, which was like it looked so shitty, but it was just fun. If I look back at it right now, I sometimes also give like entrepreneurial lectures, and I always showcase these first, marketing pictures that I used to create and showcase. Hey, this was my starting point. I wasn't a brilliant entrepreneur. I'm still not, by the way, but I wasn't a brilliant entrepreneur when I started this like first company. I had to build credibility and build skills as well.
Absolutely. So, just to get an idea, which year is this when you did
This
this?
is, mm, I think about like 2015, 2016, maybe.
Oh, I mean, it's been 6, 7 years now. That's
Yeah, it's been
that's
quite a
been quite a
journey.
journey. That's been quite a
Yeah.
journey. Amazing. Most importantly, let's talk about the most exciting thing, right? The influencer capital, right? What do you guys do in influencer capital? What is the motive behind it? What is the thesis behind it? Because I can make some assumptions out of the name and understanding of the market, but I'd really like to hear it from you on how did it get started.
Yeah, so let me start with how I got started. So yeah, as said, I've been building like a lot of startups in the past, and I was also involved with like other startups like all over the world actually. And then in the end of 2019, I moved to Silicon Valley to help like an organization build a bridge between Silicon Valley and the Netherlands to help
Okay.
more Dutch startups get to Silicon Valley. Because as you know, there's just a lot more resources available. for these companies to scale. But then COVID happened, so no startup was able to get to the US anymore. And we were like, okay, well, it doesn't make sense to be here, so also let's move back to the Netherlands. But what I really saw in the US was that there were so many startups that only had like a pitch deck, and they were already able to raise millions of dollars. Whereas here in Europe, and probably also in your part of the world, if you
Absolutely.
want to raise like 100K even, you need to have a product, you need to have traction, you need to have a team, etc. So it's a lot harder. So I was like, hey, can we not help these European companies to raise capital from US investors? Because I already had that network of US investors and I had the network of European startups. And yeah, we helped these companies like basically as a consultant. So we earned like nice money as a consultant. But at some point that became very frustrating because you're helping these companies grow and raise capital. And then you look on your LinkedIn a year later and you see that these companies raise 20, 50, sometimes hundreds of millions of dollars. And you were like, shit, it would have been much more interesting if instead of taking a consulting fee, if you had like a small equity percentage. So I was like, hey, this is not what I want to do. I really want to get to the investor side of things. And
Absolutely.
yeah, that just started me thinking about new models, etc. I didn't have a back track record like investing in startups or whatsoever. So raising a fund for me would have been hard. And I remain an entrepreneur at the core. So I was like, hey, what else is there on the market? And that's when I found like media investments. So basically what media investments is that media companies, they allow startups to tap into their media inventory, such as like a TV ads, print and radio, in exchange for equity. And for those startups, that's really nice because normally they don't have the mass marketing budgets and yeah, basically scale fast. They are limited to like a few $1,000s per month, and now they can really scale fast. So companies like a ClassPass, a Pinterest, a Zalando use those types of media investments to scale. But what we now see is that the next generation of consumers, they're not necessarily spending so much time consuming the traditional media channels anymore, but rather they spend about 5 hours per day on this device and they learn
Mm.
about new products and services via influencers. So that
Absolutely.
was when I was like, hey, can I not innovate that media investment model by using influencer marketing? So yeah, basically what we do is we take equity stakes in consumer startups with groups of influential people, and in exchange for that, we're gonna help these consumer startups to promote it on the influencers channels.
So yeah, I think this is actually a intersection between the influencer world and also the influencer world, the audience they have created, the distribution they have created with the products, consumer products, consumer companies which can leverage it. So it's a win-win situation for both the consumer companies and as well as the influencer because they grow as the company grow.
Yeah, 100%. It's a win-win situation. I think startups can really scale fast and tap into the audience of the influencer, and influencers can kind of diversify their business model because they cannot solely rely on like the brand deals that they do. So it's nice to have also like other income streams.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I mean, how do you do it? So you are connected with influencers in, I mean, across globally, or what is your focus currently? Like, what is the whole process behind that?
Yeah, so maybe what is also good if I explain a little bit about the difference between the current models on the market,
Yeah,
and then that will also kind of explains how it works.
yeah,
So at this moment, like there are already similar variations on the market, as in influencers taking equity stakes individually in companies, or influencers are launching their own brands. So yeah, let's look at the first example. So influencers are already taking equity stakes in existing startups. So how it works is that an existing startup, they give out like an equity stake to an influencer in exchange for that person becoming the face of the brand. So these influencers are not investing with cash, but they basically say, hey, give me an equity stake and I will help your company grow. But I see a couple of problems with this model on both sides. If you look at the startup side, you really see that the startup is now building their brand on someone else's personal brand. And it can make them known as, that is the company of influencer X. So there's a really good example of a drink company in the Netherlands. They did such a deal with an influencer, and now everyone refers to that company as, that is the drink of influencer X, instead of the company name. And that can also cause problems later on if you want to sell your company, because new shareholders, they're going to doubt continuity after that phase of the company is not involved anymore. As in, are consumers still going to care about that brand as much if that person is not behind it anymore? So
Understood.
yeah, it makes it quite hard to sell those types of companies. And then the last point, what you see for startups, if you partner up with the wrong type of influencer, that can also lead to damages to your brand. So let's take
Absolutely.
Kanye West with Adidas as an example.
Okay.
Like Jeezy is not able to continue anymore because yeah, Adidas have to cut ties with him, you know.
Yeah.
And in this model, if you look on the influencer side, you see that those types of equity deals are actually not scalable at all because an influencer cannot become the face of multiple startups. They can only do that with like two startups. So they're kind of putting all their eggs in one basket. Well, yeah, investing in startups is all about spreading risks. With
Understood.
equity deals, they really see that they get into long-term partnerships, which forces them to leave a lot of other deals on the table. And what you also see is that the access to equity deals is very limited to the 0.1% top influencers. So that is model one. Then what you see is model two is you see that influencers are launching their own brands and they kind of experience problems now that companies also even build on the persona of the influencers even more. So it makes it hard to sell the company. Well, obviously that's where the big check comes in for large shareholders. And also what you see is that starting a company is very time and capital intensive, especially if you have like a fast moving consumer good product and that you want to put in retail. You really need millions of dollars to start such a company, and you need a team that has the experience and expertise to start and scale companies. But yeah, simply most influencers don't have that. So I'm not saying that those models don't work at all because yeah, there's definitely been a lot of success lately. But I think there's a better way how to structure these types of deals. So how we do it is we invest in existing startups with groups of influencers. We, for example, collect a group of 10 influencers and well, then we help that company grow. So that company then receives mass marketing from these 10 influencers without spending a single dollar. And it really allows them to penetrate the market. And we can also create more impact because we do this with multiple influencers. So more consumers are going to see it more often. A consumer is going to see it at influencer A, but also at influencer B, C, D, etc. So there are many more touch points for the startup as well. So the whole marketing is not built or impacted by an individual influencer. So that's basically how we deal with these investments.
Understood. So, I mean, this is a really very clear, explanation of different models because a lot of us will know the big names who have been associated with brands, right? Like Michael Jordan, Kanye, and other guys who have been very closely associated with the brand and the big earnings they have gotten. And we also know. um big creators Kim and Kylie Jenner launching their own products and cosmetics and becoming billionaires, right? Here, you've clearly talked about the whole bit where what is the difference? Because let's say if I'm an entrepreneur and I go with only one uh, influencer, then let's say influencer name is totally aligned and it's closely associated with my company. What will happen when the influencer leaves? What will happen to the shareholder value and so on? And also, what does it mean for the influencer? It also means that they have to really put everything and give it all in for this particular company so that they get the maximum result because they can't compete with them by investing in other companies. While what you are providing is obviously a strategic option for influencers, also a company to where they can take the distribution of the influencer, whereas the influencer can also exercise their options and figure out the right company to invest in and take the leverage outside. So that's super interesting and detailed, Scott. I mean, if I mean, as we're speaking this, I wanted to touch upon the whole opportunity itself, like how big are these creator-led brands, and also want to talk about any example of how a creator was invested a small share, or it has turned out to something amazing. So I'll start with the very famous Mr. Beast, right? Mr. Beast burgers. So I see lots of this crowd coming and buying this Mr. Beast burger and going a range in the USA. So, what do you think about a brand and the power of an influencer? I mean, is it only with uh, a very big influencer like Mr. Beast, or it's also with a mid-level creator, or a micro nano creator?
Well, it depends on like how deep their relationships are with their customers, of with their their community. You know, like if you have like an influencer that is like a peanut butter influencer, and like 10,000 people follow like him or her because of their experience of peanut butter, then that relationship is still very deep. So if that person then decides to launch their own peanut butter, then most likely these 10,000 people will buy it. You know, but can you build like a very successful company on the back of 10,000 people? So that's always the balance between are these audiences large enough for the creators to actually build companies on top of it? If you have 200k followers, then you cannot build like $1 billion company on the back of it the way like Feastable is able to do it or the way Prime is able to do it. So that's why we tell these influencers as in, hey, instead of focusing so much time on building your own things, why don't you take equity stakes in already existing companies? Because then it's not only built on your persona, and you're also sharing that with other groups of influencers, you know? So that's why I think that yes, it is limited to the biggest influencers because they have the largest audience and they can really leverage that to create value. But that's not that like small creators cannot do anything. You know, they can still partner up with already existing startups or like launch different types of merchandise or whatsoever.
Understood. So I think one thing you're talking about here is mitigating risk by also working with other creators, because it's not that only your promotions are going to play a role, because when you partner with multiple different similar creators, it's also them who are going to promote it. The chance of success increases for a brand, right? And
Right.
when you work with a brand, I also think the brand brings the core expertise of building a product and selling it, and you have to only enhance your distribution. So it also slightly becomes easier, right? So I mean that becomes more strategic for an influencer as well. And the third thing which you
Yeah, no,
clear,
100%.
good.
Yeah, 100%. I just wanted to tap on that point. Like, what we say is we wanted to create a model where just everyone focus on what they do best. And in our model, these creators just focus on what they do best, and that's creating content and engaging with the audience. And the startup is also focusing on what they do best, and that is building the startup, and not necessarily only focus on marketing because marketing is a whole different game. Yeah.
Absolutely. And you're also talking about the niches and the riches kind of concept, right? The niche, if a creator is a very, has a very good core community in a particular niche, then obviously they can, make a very good leverage of it by building something in the space, launching it, or partnering with similar brands.
Was there a question there, or?
No, I was just saying that you're also touching on this point where this niches and the riches, right? Like if if a creator has peanut butter followers who following him for immoral for his sort of expertise in creating good peanut butters or making recipes out of it, that means that that creator can easily collaborate with a peanut butter brand or even launch their own brand and leverage their core community.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think what's also especially interesting about this model is all about the aligned incentives. Normally, if you reach out to an influencer and you offer them like $10,000 in cash, the influencer is still going to consider it, even though they don't 100% believe in your company. But now, if you offer them equity in the company, well, they're only going to see a return if the company does well and makes an exit eventually. So it really makes the influencers question themselves as in, hey, do I even see belief in this product? Do I even see a future in this product? Because otherwise, doing an equity deal doesn't make sense. So, if an influencer is like willing to work on equity, that means that he or she really believes in your company, and that just creates much more authentic relationships, and also results in much more better quality content.
Absolutely. So, I want to touch upon a couple of big numbers playing out in the ecosystem. Some couple of big news is right. One is Mr. Beast turning out an offer which was for $1 billion. He didn't decide to go ahead with that offer, turning down an offer worth $1 billion. That's one. And second is Logan Paul and KSI, selling 100 million of these bottles and doing $250 million in revenue in the year of launching their sports beverage energy drink. So how do you look at these numbers? I mean, what does it say about the potential of this influencer-led brand space itself?
It showcases that it's a huge, and it makes sense. Mr. Beast also said in the podcast, like in like one of his interview, he said that a lot of creators are going to disrupt like commodity products. So commodity products are like products that are used every day. So like a chocolate bar or eggs or water or whatsoever. And he mentioned the example of water bottles. So let's say you're like standing in front of the water bottle shelf and you see like 30 different brands, and like one of the brands is actually one of your favorite creators. The quality of the water is the same, the price is the same. Which bottle you're gonna pick? Well, you're probably gonna pick the one of the that's created by your favorite influencer, because there's already like a relationship in place. If you look at Mr. Beast, KSI, Logan Paul, I started watching their videos already like 5 years ago. So I have the feeling that I've been growing up with them. So yeah, I would love to support them. So that's one on like a consumer perspective why it works. And then also, yeah, these brands are able to put their product in front of millions of consumers without spending a single dollar. Often, like other brands, they have to invest heavily into marketing to be able to reach that. So it is like two-sided, also like a marketing play, but also like, yeah, what consumers are looking for these days.
Absolutely, that's an amazing point you mentioned. Uh, as, I mean, the potential is great. And do you see this trend happening proportionately with the mid-level creators and the nano creators as well?
Yeah, 100%. Like you see what's now happening in the influencer world is that everyone kind of has like FOMO. They think, ah, shit, I'm missing the boat. I also have to start a company. But then they just launch like shitty products, or they launch like, yeah, things that cannot outlive them,
Uh,
etc. So
Absolutely.
yeah, they're kind of forced to do it also by their management or whatsoever, because they think, this is going to be as successful as Prime and Feastable. So yeah, you see kind of that FOMO happening in the market. But I think that, yeah, influencers really have to think carefully, as in, okay, do I want to create a brand for like the upcoming 20 years? Because that's essentially what Feastable and Prime are trying to do. They're not
Um,
trying to make like a big buck in the upcoming 3 years and that's it.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm totally with you because not just selling any product is going to give them that kind of results. The product should have that quality, that kind of distribution strength, that kind of appeal. And obviously, an influencer coming into the play is going to, he or she is going to give the audience to them and make it a big success. But you're right, launching just a commodity product without having expertise in building that product, I don't think it'll lead to any success.
No, and there are a lot of other things also like stopping it. Like these are reasons why it's gonna be successful. But what you also see is that a lot of talent managers, they just prefer cash. They don't want their talents to do like equity deals, because how are they going to get paid? So they just, whenever there's like an equity deal on the table, they immediately say like, no, we just want cash. So that's also
True.
why I'm super happy to talk to you, because you are more on the innovative side of talent management and say talent
Absolutely.
representation, and say, hey, no, our influencers have to focus on these long-term business opportunities, because in the long run, it's probably going to pay them 10 times the price that they can, yeah, get right now in cash.
Absolutely. Like we manage few of the biggest talents in the Indian ecosystem, the Indian gaming space, and also in different entertainment space. So we are actually equally bullish about equity deals if it's the right deal. Our only vision is to help the creator choose the right product in the right kind of a structure. And we are actually bullish about equity because we know, we understand that whatever you're getting upfront as money is obviously going to be a one-off thing, right? But equity will create a big value if it goes well. The only thing is you should obviously take a informed decision and see how strategic it is for you. What is the lower side of it? What is the upside of it? And if you do that kind of due diligence and if you can understand, I think it's a very exciting option for influencers to consider this. In fact,
Yeah,
we
no, 100%. Yeah, and I think both sides have to also educate each other, because if you now talk with an influencer and you talk about equity, they expect to get like 10, 20% equity. They don't want to get like 0.4% of a company. whereas that
Okay.
0.4% of Airbnb is probably worth like still like hundreds of millions of dollars, you know. So you also have to educate influencers as in, hey, how does it work? How does this investing and building companies world works? And also on the side of the startups, you have to explain them what is the benefit of working with these influencers, you know. So it's also building a bridge between those two worlds.
Amazing. You're absolutely right because sometimes everybody thinks that, oh, I need to get 10, 20% because people think it's similar to getting a stake in a service business or something like that. Because a product company, a company which is venture funded, which has a potential to become a hundreds of $1 million company, there is obviously you have to extrapolate the value and see, what are those numbers this which will be right for the influencer. It can't be a very big number if they're not adding that amount of value or amount of their time. Having said that, I think you're right that execution should happen, and that's something which I think the market will slowly educate, and we will also play the role in catalyzing this whole bit and educating, because you're educating them also and we're also educating, and I think lots of people like us are also there in the ecosystem who are doing the same thing across the globe.
Yeah, I think also like a great example is Prime. Like Logan Paul and KSI reportedly only have 10% of the company each. Everyone thinks they own the company, but that's not true. You know, they just partnered up with someone that could create a drink for them, and they are just the face of the brand. But each they only have like 10% of the company. But in
Absolutely.
the end, probably it will still make them a billionaire.
Yeah. So, guys, sh- I mean, do you even imagine that a Logan Paul and KSI's company, which people just know it by that their names, is they're only having 20% because anybody who doesn't have this information will be thinking that they own the entire 100% of the company, or at least like the majority equity, right? And now we know that they only have 10% each. It's just 20% of the company. That's one by fifth of the company, for which they have driven sales of $250 million in a single year.
Yeah, yeah, but they need like they also need that other partner, you know, because as said, like putting like such a drink into retail is costing tens of millions of dollars. They need to have the retail access. They need to create the drink, have experience on okay, how can we actually create a good product that also has like less sugar, etc. So yeah, in my mind, it also makes sense. But yeah, start this conversation with influencers. They immediately like, no, I'm gonna make this company big, so I should also get like a big pie of a big piece of the cake. So yeah, it's super interesting what's happening. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because what I understand is 20% itself is a very big number, because the lots of experts should come and do a brand like that, right? Because when you talk about commodity business, especially retail business, is not an easy job. I mean, I think a lot of people will understand this because a lot of Shark Tank episodes you will see, Mark Cuban and others saying that, oh, this retail is going to cost you this much. You can't get the space in the shelf. Probably you won't get any entry into Walmart or so on. So getting a brand into those places where it's accessible to a customer, getting that distribution is a very big ball game, and there should be experts and veterans who have to do it. So as a creator, the creator's job is to build that brand and the brand and the image and the goodwill for the company, whereas the actual distribution in accessibility will be cracked by the experts and the veterans in the space, right?
Yeah, no, 100%, 100%. So that's why I'm super excited about people building in this space. Like what we do is just one flavor, and like in the future, a lot of these flavors are gonna exist together. I'm not saying that our flavor is the best and that only our model is gonna work. Like starting companies the way like that Feastable and Prime are doing is also working, and taking company with only one individual person is also working. You know, so I'm just super excited about everyone that is building in this space, and I think it's only going to get more and more as this greater economy starts evolving.
Absolutely, super excited for that. So, just want to talk about this influencer marketing space as well, right? Because you see a lot of these brands. For example, even you, how do you find the right influencer to suggest for a brand? Like, do you use any tool, or do you use some kind of information which you already have? So, how does it work?
Yeah, so we're not using a tool because you see that these relationships are a lot more personal than like traditional brand deals. you can use platforms if you just want to do like a cash deal, and you just say, okay, I have like this new brand, I put it on the website, and like for like €1,000 people can start promoting it. Then the relationship is not as personal as is with equity. If you're talking about equity, often you reach out to like a group of influencers, and I built like a network of influencers that are interested in receiving these investment opportunities. And I just reach out to them and I say, hey, we're in talks with this company. Like, do you think this is interesting? And they will start to ask a lot more and different questions that they normally do to like a cash deal, because they start to ask, okay, who's behind the company? They want to learn more about the team. They want to learn more about the vision, the mission that they have. They want to learn more about like so many different factors, the growth plans, etc. Because they're taking equity in the company. It's not like a short-term deal for them. Whereas
Absolutely.
with cash deals, they just want to make cash. So the questions that they ask is often a lot less than with equity deals. So you see that relationship is much more personal, and that's why until now using like platforms to find and source influences has been hard.
Understood. Understood. Absolutely. Taking equity deals, I think there should be a lot of discussions and to and fro's which will happen before somebody decided to invest in a company. I'm pretty sure. But just talking about this brand and creator campaigns, it's just a normal campaign, which because it was the marketing itself, the usual, the one which is running itself is a multi-billion-dollar market, right? It's currently $4 billion, and I think it's going to go to 25-30 billion dollars in upcoming years. So, I mean, how do you see the role of these tools? Do you have any take on which part of this whole journey will that be a tech intervention, and do you think that will be a significant intervention anywhere in the journey?
I think for every part, every individual part, there's going to be a tech tool. Like these tech tools, they just make it easier and faster and more reliable to find, so both brand deals, but also like influencers. Like a lot of influencers, they have like fake followers. So it would be very helpful if you have like a tool, you can scan these people and you find out, hey, all right, 50% of their audience is not real, or 50% of their audience is not in the Netherlands, and
Mm,
we
mm,
want to
mm.
do a deal in the Netherlands. So yeah, maybe it's not the best influencers to work with because 50% of the audience cannot even buy the product. So
Absolutely.
a lot of these tools are just going to make doing these deals and deals in the influencer marketing space in general a lot easier. And it also has to do with like legalities, like where are you going to start like store like contracts, etc.
Exactly, contracts and the demographics. First of all, choosing the right creator itself is a challenge. But I do believe there are certain tools in the market. Did you get to try any of these? You do you have do you did you find any of them useful sometime whenever you went through this journey?
Yeah, until now, I haven't really used a lot of tools, to be honest, because we are also not at that point that we are scaling yet. Like, we are a fund investing in startups, but we are a startup ourselves as well. So we are also trying to figure it out. We are
Yeah,
figuring it out on the go. So I'm now currently just, yeah, exploring a lot of tools and see if it is a fit for us.
yeah,
But at the moment, doing our deals is also like a lot of manual work. But that's
absolutely.
what we first want to do, create a proof of concept, showcase that this works, and then also build tech or like work together with other tech tools to facilitate our deals better.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think also managing this creator relationships, right? Because I think there are many of these creators who will be very useful to a brand. I mean, like say you also told, right, like the fact that brands will be working on multiple creators and they're going to give not on the equity deal, on the influencer marketing kind of a bit. Do you think all this relationship management will be done in a certain environment which is tech enabled?
Yeah, like I think almost everything is tech enabled. Like even content creation these days, you can go to chat gdp and like get like an outline of what you want to talk about for your next video. So
Yeah,
from content creation to relationship management to verifying these influencers to payment to contracts, I think everyone is going to be tech enabled. And there's like 2 billion creators in this world. Or I don't know if that number is true, but there's so many creators in the world. Yeah, so there's a lot of potential for tech tools.
Absolutely. So, I want to ask this thing. So, what is the interesting upcoming thing for influencer capital? Are we going to see a next prime coming out of your investments, or something as big as that? What is your initial? The next goal for you going forward?
Yeah, like I hope obviously that we're gonna invest in the next prime, but yeah, investing in startups is risky. Like 90% of the startups don't make it. So for us, it's also about betting on the right horses, and I'm just super excited about that. I meet with founders every single day that have like a dream, and yeah, to be able to help them achieve that dream, that is just so fulfilling. So it's both that's what I'm super excited about, to continuously helping these founders to build companies that create value for the world. That can also be like an environmental solution, or like a product such as Prime that has like less sugar and are better for you, whatsoever. So I'm super excited about that, and then I'm at the same time I'm super excited about helping these influencers to switch to also becoming like entrepreneurs and investors. Talking to them about opportunities, and yeah, that's just also something that I'm super excited about, helping them create like long-term financial stable careers the way also like athletes do. So yeah, at
Absolutely.
the moment we're currently based in the Netherlands, but we're now also expanding into the US. So I'm also super excited about that because yeah, as I stated at the beginning of this interview, I love the American mindset, as in of thinking big and taking risks. And yeah, the Netherlands is a small country, and yeah, also like an Indian market would be very interesting for us because there's like 1.1 billion people that we can reach with the creator economy.
Absolutely.
So yeah, expanding into countries such as India and such as the US is eventually our goal, and that's what yeah, makes me super excited.
Absolutely, we work with amazing creators in India, and I'm pretty sure the opportunity is huge. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to see a lot of these influencers becoming angel investors in the consumer companies. And next decade is going to be about that. My best wishes to you. I know my best wishes to you. I'm pretty sure this is what a lot of the influencers and the consumer brands would need, and you are playing the right bridge between them.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm definitely sure that we're gonna be in contact from here a lot more because yeah, I said the Indian market is super interesting, and yeah, what you guys are doing is great.
Absolutely. So, on a finishing note, I wanted to ask you one question, which is super important, which is what worked for you? What worked for you, Scott, as an entrepreneur, as somebody building influencer capital, the whole journey? What worked for you?
Yeah, it's so many things that worked. It's all about trying things. I tried so many different things. I worked my ass off for like 7 years. Like uh, influencer capital didn't come like at the first day of my entrepreneurial career. I worked for 7 years on different products until I find the right company that I want to build for the long term. So it's just about yeah, patience as well, trying so many different times. All the time I was working on 2 3 different projects, and I never gave up. It would have been so much easier for me to start working at a VC firm, earning like 100K a year, building my way up to becoming a partner, and
Absolutely.
that's it. And I probably would also have been like creating a great life for myself. But yeah, at the core I just wanted to create. So yeah, it's about trying and never giving up.
Absolutely. I think it's about persistent, consistent efforts into building your own reality. I think that's
Yeah, and
exactly what you've been talking about here.
yeah, and also obviously trying to get advice from people that are like above you and that they're already further ahead of you. That also has been very helpful for me.
Absolutely. I think that's also the goal of this podcast, where the conversation which we have had, I hope this helps, other folks who are building for the influencer world in the influencer brand VC space, or also, looking to start up and looking for inspirations in your country, and so on. So I think it would have been a useful journey. And to my viewers, please do give your feedback, and I hope you enjoyed this. And any part you want us to kind of cover more, or you want to talk us to, you know uh, talk more on that, do tell us. And what do you think about influencers becoming small angel investors in the consumer brands? Is it a good idea? Comment below. Thank you, guys.